Liz Brown Swanson. Thanks for joining us for RPV City Talk's special Public Safety Edition. And with us are our two pros on public safety. It is our Public Safety Division Manager, Jennifer Schmid with the city, and of course with the Lomita Sheriff Station, Deputy Derek Clotworthy. It is so great to have you back in studio, doing what you do best, helping us stay safe. With that, how are you both doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having us. Excited to be back here and share some updates to our community members.
Doing well as well. Thank you so much for inviting us.
You're out there doing what you want to do to make sure people know how to stay safe, as I was saying. But first, let's give a little background, starting with you, Deputy Clotworthy, so people can understand how you got involved at Lomita Sheriff Station and your passion for public safety.
Yeah, sure. So I am about a 10-year veteran now of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I've been at Lomita Station now for maybe about 5 years, but I did grow up in this community. I'm second generation. My mother patrolled this station for about a decade as well in the early 2000s. And recognizing that I was a product of this community, I realized it was about time for me to give back. And that's why I'm doing exactly what I do today.
And we are so grateful to have you, Jennifer Schmid. You've been on board over a year, right, with our city?
Just over a year.
Talk about you and what you're doing, your background.
Yeah, so super excited to be a part of the Public Safety Division here for City of RPV. It's a newly formed division, so getting the opportunity to establish a blueprint here is incredible opportunity, and to understand the needs of the community and build it up from there. My background, I don't have such a great story like Deputy Clotworthy does. I kind of just fell into public safety going to college. There was a part-time job for the city of Lakewood, and I joined in as a clerk, and I did live scans over there, and they also were building their department from the ground up as well. So seeing the great things that were being created out of that department and the benefits to the community with creating new programs just really made me really excited to help and assist. So I was excited to go ahead and do the same thing here.
Let's talk about this new public safety division that's being rolled out right now in our city with the coordination and with the Lomita Sheriff Station. So we'll go back and forth just to talk about that. You were at the council meeting, so back to you about just the points that you want to make right now. You're going to have public safety liaisons that are being trained. Start with them so people understand, what is this public safety division doing?
Yeah, so one of the main components for our division is the public safety liaisons. And what that means is what they're going to be doing is handling and assisting the Lomita Sheriff Station with non-emergency calls for service. So what that means is if you got your vehicle broken into in the middle of the night, you have no suspect information, no video footage, no nothing like that, you still need to call the Lomita Sheriff Station, and our public safety liaisons will be responding to that call for service because they have been trained in taking that report. What that does is it alleviates our deputies to go handle more priority calls for service. So they're in their training phases right now. They're going to different schools that LESD provides and trainings that they provide as well. We're very close to the finish line on what that looks like. Our public safety liaisons are out in the field right now, but more so on a patrol, being extra eyes and ears for our neighbors and assisting with different resident concerns, whether it be concerns of speeding, traffic safety, and they report back to us, the sheriff's station, as well as our public works team to help assist with that. But yeah, they're in their training phases right now. They're almost going to be out there, and there'll be a large campaign to show residents what they look like.
Right. Deputy Clotworthy, could you just expand, obviously, on the collaboration that's going on and how you're going to be working side by side with these public safety liaisons, how it is going to benefit the work you do, and also to clear up any confusion that residents might have. When do I want to make sure I'm talking to Lomita, and when am I talking to a public safety liaison? Can you kind of get into all that?
Start off with the relationship between these public safety liaisons and the Sheriff's Department. And I'll start with the model that's already been established with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for many years. You may have seen on TV or in social media that there's members of our department that are wearing various uniforms. You have your tan and green, obviously that's a deputy sheriff, everybody knows that for the most part. And then you have green on green, those are security, custody assistants, and they usually assist us, non-sworn personnel, in the custody setting. And then you may have seen the white shirt officers. Those are security officers, white over green. And again, a non-sworn position, but they carry a firearm. That's something that our department has had on contract for many, many years. And they are, what your public safety liaisons are doing, are actually filling that void, because that's something that we haven't been able to fill in a very long time. So there's already been a relationship there. There's already an understanding that these non-sworn officers can do these non-emergent tasks for us. They can author some, some of the more, tedious police reports that don't really require an investigator's eye, or maybe even respond to a traffic collision and author a report that's really probably just going to be for insurance purposes only. So that's the benefit of having those guys out there. Now, keywords, they're non-sworn, right? So they do not have the same powers of authority that I do to have to effect an arrest, right? Or maybe issue a traffic citation. They can't do that. They can issue a parking citation, but again, there's a very clear distinction between the two. And we don't want to necessarily put civilians in harm's way, even ones that are as trained as these ones will be. So when you have a more emergent call for service, a more serious incident, where there's a potential propensity for violence, you're still going to rely on us. We're still going to respond, but it's great to have an extra set of eyes and ears.
Right. I think when I saw both of you happen to be out at my communities where I live, my neighborhood's homeowners association or residents association, you talked about when someone does have an issue to call, if someone woke up and they realized their house had been broken into, they're still calling the sheriffs, and then they're going to send over a public safety liaison. Is that how it'll work?
Yeah, so even though the public safety liaisons are housed under the city, you still need to contact the Lomita Sheriff Station. And then the dispatcher will ultimately decide whether that's a call that the public safety liaison can handle or a deputy needs to handle. There has been some instances where in the past, from my past experience in public safety, where a public safety liaison will go out to that call. They'll realize there's elements where a deputy needs to be involved, and then they'll reach out to the deputies as well to get involved.
And on that, I want to add, reaching out to a deputy now, there's a virtual deputy program. That might be a good time just to mention that, about ways to contact the Sheriff's Department.
Right, yeah. There is a virtual deputy program. I post it regularly or repost it regularly on our social media channels. I've shared it with Neighborhood Watch as well. There's a QR code and a link that you can follow to access the application. And basically what it is an opportunity to do sort of like a FaceTime, a video conference call with a live deputy sheriff in uniform, so you can see and recognize that you're still getting the highest level of service when you're filing a police report. But now you can do it with the advantage of scheduling in advance, working a time that works for your schedule, your busy schedule. Now you're eliminating the need for a deputy to have to drive, waste gas. Not that it's a waste of gas, but we'd like to save wherever we can. To have to drive to your location, and then now you're enhancing the privacy of that crime victim. I don't think that anyone's a huge fan of inviting the law enforcement over to the house to report a crime, because now all of your neighbors are curious, hey, what's going on, and you'd like to maintain that privacy, right, and maintain your dignity. And now you don't have to do that. You can request that report virtually. We can handle all of our business, via that call, and we can still, start working towards getting you some justice in another mode.
All right. Can we want to talk a little bit about the crime trends you're seeing right here and concerns, what's happening right now in Rancho Palos Verdes? The community can really have access to find out what is happening with crime trends. There's crime mapping. There's a lot of information on both websites. Do you want to share what you're seeing in our city right now?
Yeah. Three of the biggest things that we're seeing is residential burglaries, vehicle burglaries, and fraud. With the case with vehicle burglaries and residential burglaries, more than often it's because doors were being unlocked, windows were being left open. But there are some instances where people do break into the vehicle or the home, but statistics have shown that it's usually because there's something that's valuable in plain sight, or again, the vehicle's being unlocked. So we always try and remind residents to remove those valuable items, double check your doors, double check your homes, have adequate lighting around your home and security cameras and all of that good stuff too. With fraud that's on the rise, that's something that is increasing year to year, especially around tax season, unfortunately, where checks are being washed and cashed. So we always try and to advocate to our community members to try and do everything virtually and do online payments if possible, but we do know that mailing checks is still very common, so we recommend doing that via certified mail so you can track if the check has been reached to its destination, and check your bank account frequently too to see if there's any error. Sometimes criminals, what they'll do is they'll test out $1, $2 to see if someone disputes that, and then cashes the full amount and a couple days later too. So those are the things that we're seeing. We're actively trying to produce content and share with our community members and how to safeguard themselves from being victims. And then also we see those common scams of, unfortunately, people calling and demanding money either via gift cards or cryptocurrency. So we always encourage people to verify with the source directly. Don't believe everything that you hear, and don't click on anything that seems too good to be true.
Let's talk about some of the cases solved and what's going on with what you're able to do at Lomita Sheriff Station, starting with, I know we've been hearing a lot about a situation with an arson case that you were directly involved with. So talk about the success stories that we're having with just being out there and crime suppression efforts.
Right, absolutely. So yeah, you may have heard, and we did post about it on our social media and shared it with Neighborhood Watch, that there was a stream of arson incidents that had occurred in quick succession here at the beginning of the month, and we recognized how alarming it was to the community. So we immediately, created, a bulletin and disseminated that to the community and asked everyone for their help, because the reality is public safety, it's a team sport.
Yes.
Right, and we may be out there, investigating crime, following leads, and then trying to be proactive in our enforcement. But really, we're only successful when people are also cooperating, when they're also reducing the likelihood that they themselves can become victims, and then when they see something, they're saying something. But yeah, we had a slew of arson incidents all occurring in the area, in the neighborhood around Hess Park, 2 at Hess Park, and then 1 nearby at Island View. And it was alarming. We had our surveillance and apprehension team detectives doing undercover operations in the area, checking the neighborhood. And then on the final straw, the final incident, back I think on the 9th, one citizen had called it in because he noticed some suspicious activity outside of his house. He saw a couple of bicycles. He saw some kids, some young males, kind of hanging out in the brush, the bushes near his residence. And then he saw or heard what he thought to be the sound of like a clicking lighter, and saw a little bit of smoke in the bushes. So he went out to investigate. And sure enough, he had some suspects that he'd identified to believe committing arson. Contacted our station. We responded in kind, and we detained these suspects. I responded personally to that incident, and I asked our witness, hey, just by chance, do you follow us on social media? And he says, absolutely, I do. And that's exactly why I was looking for what I was looking for.
Wow.
I saw your posts. I saw your suspect description. I saw that, your suspects were potentially juveniles on bicycles. And that's, how we ended up with what we did. So, I just wanted to point that out as a prime example of how, us continuing to engage with our community, and then them taking that engagement and running with it leads to these types of results, because it was a team effort.
So thank you for that. When you hear about the success of crime suppression efforts, obviously you track that, and you also track, a lot of data that gets put out on the council meetings, for example. You'll come and talk about crime trends. I'm curious what you both think is the best way to really to stay informed as a resident, to understand what is out there happening in our community when it comes to crime.
Yeah, we have a plethora of resources to our residents. Like Deputy Clotworthy mentioned, that individual followed their social media pages. Okay. And we also have our social media pages too, which we share a lot of the Lomita Sheriff Station's content. We also have our listserv, so our residents can sign up to receive our newsletters. We do a city manager's weekly report that also highlights some public safety crime information and just information in general about the city. And then we also just have our website information too that has different crime prevention information as well. For the Lomita Sheriff Station, I know you guys have your social media that you guys
Very
post.
Entertaining too. And RPVtv, keep watching
and
that.
RPVtv.
Yes, here we are doing that. No,
Yeah.
And so we appreciate that. How helpful do you think social media is? Super helpful, like you were saying. It's an amazing tool.
I think it's growing, and I think that, it's awesome. I mean, what's the best way, right, to get our information? Consume it all mediums, RPVtv, social media, attend city council meetings every now and again. Just do it all, right? Because the reality is, like, you can't be complacent today. You need to actively be a participant in what's going on in your local government, right? Like, we can't sit on the sidelines. You know, many years ago, I remember growing up, everybody knew their neighbors, everybody knew what was going on, and now I feel like people are distancing themselves. They're kind of becoming more reclusive, and that's really counterproductive to the cause.
And you mentioned neighbors. I know the two of you are out in the neighborhoods. Again, I heard that said earlier in the show. You were at our CVU Residents Association meeting, giving an incredibly helpful information. But there's a real push now to expand Neighborhood Watch, because there's areas that don't have it.
Yeah, I can't stress enough the importance of Neighborhood Watch. As much as we would love to have a deputy on every single corner, as much as I would love to have a public safety liaison on every single corner, it's just not a possibility. And our community members know their community like the back of their hand. They are also our eyes and ears on the streets. So joining that Neighborhood Watch program, building that rapport with your neighbors, and knowing what's going on in the community is extremely helpful. And Deputy Clotworthy, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the arrests come because residents call into the station and they prevent a crime from further occurring. So Neighborhood Watch is super important to communicate with their neighbors, know what's going on in your neighborhood, and you can start to see if there's specific things that stick out, like there's a couple unusual cars than normal, you know, that's not my neighbor Susie's vehicle in her yard or in her driveway. So those little things truly do help, and it's not being nosy, it's just being aware.
Hypervigilant.
I think to residents sometimes, they think they might see something, they're not sure, we don't want to bother the sheriff's station, should we be calling? And I think that brings me to asking you, when people are going to call in something suspicious, what should they be prepared to, what will they be asked? Like, what will they need to know when they call the sheriff's station, for example? What kind of information do they need, usually?
Well, we're just trying to determine if a crime has occurred, is occurring now, or is about to occur. Right? And a lot of these, like the most common crimes, they're kind of no-brainers, right? A theft, taking someone else's property without their permission, right? And so the element of there is quite simple. If we can identify property and we know it doesn't belong to this person who we think is actively trying to obtain it, you've got a crime. Right? That's just an example of one of them. But we just need it in plain, simple terms from the people who are calling, hey, my name is so-and-so, I'm at this location, and I believe that X, Y, and Z are occurring, and I believe that those together create this crime. Can you send a deputy? Right. It's just that simple. So we did have posted that. We partnered with the city. We posted it on our social media. So if you scroll down through some of our recent posts, I pinned it to the top there. You could see a really great breakdown of the exact information that we want from you when you call to really streamline that process and get us out there as quickly as possible. When
it comes to crime prevention tips, do you really recommend camera systems in Langer? I know we have a grant program. Can you talk about that too? The way to help us protect our homes using cameras.
Yeah, cameras are extremely important to have in your home as well. I know a lot of people don't want to utilize technology and have some reservations about technology, but in the end, that's kind of the era that we're in, and it does assist our deputies with solving some crimes as well to capture footage of potential suspects. Our program that we have is the security camera reimbursement program. So residents are able to either purchase an individual camera of any brand, as long as it's a security camera with a feed that stays on the software of whatever camera that you decide to purchase. They can receive up to $100, so, or half off of the purchase. And then for our neighborhoods, we also offer a neighborhood reimbursement. So there's some community members that have security cameras at the entrances and exits of their neighborhoods, and we do provide a reimbursement for their annual service fee up to $2,500. So those ones are a little pricey, but typically what we see the neighborhood associations do and the HOAs do is they all pitch in from their HOA dues and memberships, and they pay it that way. So you guys can apply on the city's website, and that's open every single fiscal year for residents.
Well, thank you for that. You can even you even have a rental program, right, as well?
We do have a rental program if residents don't have security cameras. Again, we do encourage security cameras, but if you don't have a security camera, you can rent an indoor camera from us for a month, and just to have extra set of eyes and ears. But also on that, the Lomita Sheriff Station also has a vacation check program that you can call the station and let them know of when you're going out on vacation, how many vehicles will be in your driveway, anything that's pertinent for the station to know about.
But you're saying vacation check, it brings me to volunteers on patrol, because of those volunteers on patrol go out and do that, correct?
That's
Can you talk
correct.
about that program and a little bit more about opportunities to get involved and help at the city and at the station, both?
Yeah, sure. We've got dozens of people in that program, and they all operate in varying capacities, but they're just quite simply members of our community who, recognize the need, and they were already so involved. They said, hey, let's take it to the next level. Maybe I'm retired or something, or maybe I've got some free time on my weekends. Let me go down to the sheriff's station and see how else I can contribute. Some of them do very simple things. They answer phones for us, and then they'll direct those calls appropriately, or maybe they'll do like a mail run, and they're relieving personnel from our station from having to drive all the way downtown to take something to division and back, right? And that's a tremendous help to us. Or some of them even are in marked patrol cars, not like a deputy patrol car, but it's an all white and it says Sheriff's Volunteer on it, and they're out there being an additional set of eyes and ears for free. Right. These are people that are just generously giving back to the community, augmenting, the patrol services that we have. And Jen mentioned the patrol check program. Yeah, you just give us a call, talk to dispatch, say, hey, I'm going to be out, of house, out of town. The place is going to be vacant, left unattended from this time to this time. We'll take that information down on an index card. We'll file it here at the station. When our volunteers come in, they'll check that. They'll go through the cards, and then they'll start making their rounds. And they'll just drive over there and kind of just check the vicinity, make sure things are in order. They're not going to go onto your property or anything. But if they're driving by and they say, whoa, hey, wait a second, that window looks like it's open, cracked, whatever, so on and so forth. Now we can, conduct a more thorough investigation. And if you called in advance and we've got your contact information on that card, well, great. Now we know we can get in touch with the homeowner who could be overseas. We've got a good contact phone number. If we find somebody in that house, now we can start the judicial process, right? Because likely we'd be arresting that person for trespassing. Well, now we can contact the victim, and now we can solidify that arrest and start prosecution.
Right.
So
the resources that the city is putting in right now, at the city council meeting, we just renewed the sheriff's contract, which you oversee that, and we know there's this goal of our council is always to enhance resources. For you, what do you see sort of the vision and the goal going forward for more resources in our city?
Long term, I would love to add more public safety liaisons if it's possible, both financially and for the department. I would love to add more deputies to our contract as well. It never hurts to have more eyes and ears on the streets to keep
Absolutely.
our streets safer. Unfortunately, we're in a growth moratorium. The Sheriff's Department is suffering from deputy vacancies of over 1,000. So these guys are working overtime to fulfill that, what you talked about, the contract. The Lomita Sheriff Station has to fulfill a certain amount of minutes every single month. And because of the vacancies, they still have to fulfill those contractually obligated minutes. So they are working really hard and working over those 40 hours. So if that moratorium is ever lifted, I would love to add more deputies to our contract. And again, just increasing public safety liaisons. It never hurts to have more eyes and ears on the streets.
And then when you're talking about the staffing situation at the sheriff's, recruitments going on, for the community listening and watching, they want to know in the end, like, what are my response times? How many patrols are out there?
I monitor it every single month. They report a very lengthy spreadsheet to us every single month to see the minutes. So I review that. They are still on task, but again, it is at a cost of the deputies' time, and it is tiring. So we're hoping that we can help them out with our public safety liaisons as well.
Great.
Absolutely.
For you,
we'll take any help we can get.
we only have a few minutes left as we're wrapping it up here. Things that I want to make sure that you want to touch upon. This is opportunity again, like people want to have you come to their homeowners meeting. How do people connect with you so they can find out more what's going on?
Yeah, we encourage residents to contact us, especially to speak at their neighborhood meetings. Even if you don't have Neighborhood Watch, if you want to get your neighborhood together, it's easier for us to communicate on crime-specific trends in their neighborhoods when it's in that neighborhood setting. So my information is on the city website. You can look on the public safeties page and get my email and my phone number there. Email is preferred because I'm in and out of the office, but you can reach out and we can schedule a meeting. And usually Deputy Clotworthy is always standing next to me at the meetings.
How do people reach you?
However they want to reach me. Right? Honestly, we highly publicize our station's non-emergent line.
Yeah.
And it's a simple phone call to our station. You say, hey, I'd love to speak to Community Relations Deputy Derek Clotworthy. They will transfer you directly to me without delay.
And that's 310-539-1661.
That's
yes?
right. That's exactly right.
Although I know we have a few minutes. One thing, I know we were talking about crime and crime prevention, but I never hit up traffic. What's your messaging out there for, driving safely around the peninsula? And I know there's details that you coordinate with the city to make sure we slow down RPV on the switchbacks. So do you want to just plug anything about that going on with its traffic and traffic suppression efforts too?
Yeah, RPV Drive East is always one that is on our radar. So we do have our public safety liaisons patrolling that daily to observe it. We have beautiful scenic lookouts here. At the end of the day, that's the reality. People do like to come and take a look on those lookouts, but unfortunately some people do like to speed. So we do have enforcement that goes on both with our public safety liaisons. Now they can't issue traffic citations, but I'll let Deputy Clotworthy talk about the enforcement that Lomita Sheriff Station does.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's only so many deputies in the field, and we can only be in so many places at any given time. Right, and so typically what we do is when we get feedback from either the city or from the community directly, expressing their concerns over a particular intersection or strip of roadway, then we send deputies over there and we start issuing citations, right? Because that usually corrects behavior. That's all peace officers are. We're your mom and dad when you're too old to have to listen to the ones that you were born with. Right, and that's all issuing a citation is. It's just correcting your behavior. That's all jail is. We're just putting you on timeout. And so we respond to those places, we respond to those concerns, and we enforce where appropriate, and we also offer leniency where appropriate too. But that's how we address that.
As we are wrapping it up. Summer's here. Summer's busy. What's your message to the community about staying safe and, if you see something, say something and all that. And anything else you might want to add about the rollout of the new safety division as well?
Yeah, beautiful scenic views that we have over here. Everyone wants to be outside, so please, please, please have a fun and safe summer, but please be aware of your surroundings. Teach your children to be aware of their surroundings as well. We know that sometimes mom and dad go to work and the kids go out and play, which I love to see the kids out and play, but to make sure that they understand the importance of being safe, having their contact information, knowing the sheriff station's number, as well as just the general 911 line just in case something occurs.
Guys, summer's here. Kids are off school. Maybe you've got some vacation time. We want you to enjoy the summer. We just want you to enjoy it responsibly. So if you're going to consume alcohol, don't drink and drive. All right, it would be a detriment to us all. But please stay safe, have a great time, and give us a call if you need anything.
And with that, we're going to wrap it up here. I'm Liz Brown Swanson with Jennifer Schmid, Deputy Clotworthy. Thanks for tuning in, and stay safe out there.